Zephyra stood 7 feet tall in the shadows of the alien forest. Her 4 arms moved with deadly grace as she watched the small human cabin below. The moonlight could not touch her. Her natural skin bent light around her body like water. To human eyes, she was invisible. She had been watching this world for 3 years now. The humans called it Haven's Edge. They thought they were safe here. They thought they were the masters of this wild place. They were wrong. Zephyra belonged to the Kytheran race. Her people were born hunters. Their black shell-like skin could stop most weapons. Their 4 arms could tear through metal. Their eyes could see heat and movement in complete darkness. But their greatest gift was the ability to vanish from sight. The Kytherans had spread across many worlds. They hunted the galaxy's most dangerous creatures for sport. But humans were special. Humans were the perfect prey. Other species were too easy to hunt. The Velok were strong but slow. The Prith were fast but stupid. The Mentari could fly but had no courage. Humans were different. They had intelligence. They could think and plan. They felt real fear. This made hunting them exciting. Zephyra had killed 43 humans on this world. Each hunt was a masterpiece. She would watch her target for weeks. She learned their habits. She learned their fears. She learned their routines. Then she would strike. The hunt always began the same way. She would move things in their homes while they slept. A cup moved to a different shelf. A tool placed in the wrong spot. Small things that made humans nervous. Their primitive minds would try to find reasons. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they were tired. But deep down, they knew something was wrong. Next came the sounds. Zephyra would circle their homes at night. She would scratch trees with her claws. She would make calls that sounded almost like voices. The humans would lie in their beds, listening, afraid to sleep. Then the real fun began. She would let them see glimpses of her. A shadow moving when there should be none. A shape in the forest that did not belong. The humans would tell others, but no one believed them. They were alone with their fear. The final stage was the hunt itself. By then, the humans were already broken. They jumped at small sounds. They locked their doors tight. They slept with weapons by their beds. But none of it mattered. When Zephyra decided to kill, nothing could stop her. She remembered her first kill on this world. A young farmer named David. He lived alone on the edge of the settlement. She had watched him for a month. He grew food in neat rows. He talked to his animals like friends. He was kind and gentle. The night she killed him, David had barricaded himself in his house. He knew something was hunting him. He sat in his kitchen with a rifle across his knees. His hands shook as he drank coffee to stay awake. Zephyra had entered through the roof. Her claws cut through the wooden beams like paper. She dropped into his bedroom. The sound made David run to investigate. When he saw nothing, he returned to his kitchen. She followed him silently. Her invisible form moved behind him as he sat back down. She watched him for a full hour. She enjoyed seeing him afraid. His heart beat so fast, she could smell his sweat. When she finally struck, it was over in seconds. 4 claws pierced his chest before he could scream. She held his face as the life left his eyes. In those final moments, she saw something beautiful. She saw the moment when hope died. After each kill, Zephyra took trophies. She had a hidden ship in the mountains. Inside were shelves filled with human objects, photos of families, wedding rings, children's toys. Each item told the story of a life ended. But the real treasures were her recordings. She captured the final moments of each hunt, the fear in their voices, the prayers they whispered, the tears they shed. She would watch these recordings when she was bored. They never failed to entertain her. The local humans blamed the disappearances on wild animals. Some said raiders from other worlds were responsible. A few suspected alien involvement, but they had no proof. The authorities investigated but found nothing. Bodies were never discovered. Evidence, always, vanished. This was how Zephyra liked it. She was a ghost story. A nightmare that mothers used to frighten children into staying close to home. Some humans began to leave Haven's Edge. They packed their belongings and fled to safer worlds. This only made the remaining prey more valuable. She had become the apex predator of Haven's Edge. Nothing on this world could challenge her. The humans were helpless before her superior abilities. Their technology was primitive. Their senses were weak. Their bodies were fragile. But Zephyra was growing bored. The humans were becoming too easy to frighten. They cowered at the first sign of danger. Some even went mad before she killed them. Where was the challenge in hunting broken prey? She needed a new target. Someone different. Someone who might provide real sport. From her ship's computers, she studied the human settlement's records. Most of the people were farmers, shopkeepers, and their families. But there was one name that caught her attention. Marcus Chen. He lived alone, 20 kilometers from the nearest neighbor. He was a surveyor, mapping the planet's mineral wealth. The record said he was 52 years old. He had come to Haven's Edge 5 years ago from Earth. No family, no close friends. Perfect. Zephyra smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Marcus Chen would be her next masterpiece. She would make this hunt last longer than the others. She would savor every moment of his fear. She activated her ship's systems and began planning. Soon, she would begin watching Marcus Chen. Soon, she would begin the hunt that would change everything. Marcus Chen woke before dawn as he always did. His small cabin sat in a clearing, surrounded by thick forest. The morning mist clung to the trees like ghostly fingers. He made coffee in his simple kitchen and reviewed his work plans for the day. At 52, Marcus looked like any other settler on Haven's Edge. Gray streaked his black hair. Lines marked his weathered face. His clothes were practical and worn. Nothing about him suggested he was special or dangerous. He ate a simple breakfast of bread and dried fruit. Then he gathered his surveying equipment. The heavy scanner went over his shoulder. The sample containers fit in his belt pouches. His datapad showed the coordinates for today's mineral survey. Marcus stepped outside and breathed the cool morning air. The forest was quiet, except for the sounds of small animals and birds. He walked to his vehicle, a sturdy all-terrain transport built for rough ground. 200 meters away, hidden in the trees, Zephyra watched him through enhanced vision. She had been observing Marcus for 3 days now. So far, he seemed exactly like her previous targets. Routine. Predictable. Weak. Every morning, Marcus left his cabin at the same time. He drove to different locations to take soil samples and scan for valuable minerals. He worked alone, speaking to no one except during his weekly supply runs to town. He returned home each evening before dark. Zephyra had circled his property many times while invisible. The cabin was simple. 1 bedroom, 1 main room, a small kitchen and bathroom. Marcus kept his home neat and organized. His belongings were few and practical. She had found no weapons, except an old hunting rifle above the fireplace. No security systems. No communication equipment, except a basic radio. The nearest neighbor lived 20 kilometers away. If Marcus screamed, no one would hear him. But something felt different about this human. Zephyra could not identify what made her uneasy. Marcus moved with purpose, but also with awareness. His eyes scanned the forest when he stepped outside. He listened to sounds with attention. Most humans walked through life half asleep. Marcus seemed alert. On the 4th day, Zephyra decided to begin the psychological phase of her hunt. She would start with small disturbances, move his tools, scratch marks on trees near his cabin, make him nervous. That night, she entered his home while he slept. Her invisible form passed through the door like smoke. She stood in his bedroom and watched him breathe. Marcus slept on his side, one arm under his pillow. He looked peaceful and unaware. Zephyra moved to his main room. She picked up his coffee cup and placed it on a different shelf. She turned his datapad face down on the table. She opened a window that had been closed. Small changes that would worry him in the morning. When Marcus woke, he noticed everything immediately. He stood in his kitchen and stared at the cup on the wrong shelf. His hand reached for where it should have been. He frowned and picked up the cup, examining it closely. At the table, he turned his datapad right side up. He always left it face up. Always. He walked to the window and found it open. The night had been cold. He would never have left a window open. Most humans would have made excuses. They would have blamed forgetfulness or tiredness. Marcus did not. He walked through his cabin, room by room. He checked every corner. He examined the door and window locks. He found no signs of entry, but his expression remained troubled. Zephyra watched from the forest and felt surprised. This human was more observant than the others, but observation would not save him. Marcus went about his normal routine that day, but Zephyra noticed changes. He looked over his shoulder more often. When he stopped to take samples, he positioned himself where he could see in all directions. When he returned to his vehicle, he checked the area first. That evening, Marcus sat on his porch with a cup of tea. To anyone watching, he appeared relaxed, but his eyes never stopped moving. They swept the tree line constantly. His head tilted at every sound. Zephyra crept closer, staying invisible. She wanted to see his face better. She wanted to study his fear. Marcus suddenly went very still. His cup stopped halfway to his lips. His eyes focused on a spot 10 meters to Zephyra's left. He set down his cup slowly and stood up. "I know you're out there," Marcus said quietly. His voice carried clearly in the evening air. "I don't know what you are, but I know you're watching me. Ended by Persamati. I know you're watching me." Zephyra froze. This had never happened before. Humans were not supposed to detect her presence. Her camouflage was perfect. She made no sound. How could he know? Marcus stepped down from his porch. He moved carefully, but not with fear. His movements reminded Zephyra of something. The way a predator moves when it senses another predator nearby. 3 days, Marcus continued. "You've been watching me for 3 days. Yesterday you were in my house. You moved my things." He paused and looked directly at the spot where Zephyra stood hidden. For one terrible moment, she thought he could see her. But his eyes passed over her location, without stopping. He was guessing. "I don't know what you want," Marcus said. "But I'm not some helpless settler you can frighten." He turned and walked back to his porch. At the door, he stopped. "I've dealt with things much worse than you." That night, Zephyra did not sleep. She circled Marcus's cabin over and over, trying to understand what had happened. No human had ever detected her surveillance before. No human had ever spoken to her with such confidence. She reviewed everything she knew about Marcus Chen. The record said he was a surveyor from Earth. But Earth was the human homeworld. It was where their military trained their best soldiers. What if Marcus Chen was not just a surveyor? What if his quiet life on Haven's Edge was hiding something else? The next morning, Marcus left his cabin as usual. But now, he carried more than surveying equipment. He had a small device clipped to his belt that Zephyra had never seen before. He drove a different route to his work site. When he stopped, he took samples, but also set up several small objects around his vehicle. Zephyra realized these might be sensors or recording devices. Marcus was not just working. He was studying his environment. He was looking for her. That evening, she approached his cabin more carefully. As she drew near, a tiny device hidden in the grass began to emit a sound too high for human ears to detect. But Zafira heard it clearly. Marcus had set up detection equipment around his home. For the first time in her hunting career, Zafira felt uncertain. This human was not behaving like prey. He was acting like a hunter, preparing to fight back. She remembered his words. "I've dealt with things much worse than you." What had Marcus Chen faced on Earth? What had he learned there? And most importantly, was she still the hunter in this situation? As she withdrew to plan her next move, Zafira began to suspect she had chosen the wrong target. Marcus Chen was not going to be another easy kill. He was going to be something far more dangerous. Marcus Chen had not slept well in 4 nights, not since he confirmed that something was watching him. His military training from 20 years ago came flooding back like muscle memory. The signs were clear to anyone who knew how to read them. Disturbed vegetation in patterns that did not match local wildlife. A faint smell in the air that reminded him of electrical storms. The way small animals avoided certain areas of the forest. And most telling of all, the complete absence of birdsong in specific zones. Something was out there. Something that could hide from normal human senses. Something intelligent enough to study him before making a move. Marcus sat at his kitchen table with his morning coffee and reviewed what he knew. The previous night, his motion sensors had detected movement around his cabin, but his cameras showed nothing. Whatever was stalking him could avoid visual detection. He opened his datapad and accessed files he had hoped never to use again. Technical specifications for alien species encountered during Earth's colonial expansion. Most of the information was classified, but Marcus still had security clearance from his military days. He searched for species with natural camouflage abilities. The list was shorter than he expected. Only 3 races had technology or biology that could achieve true invisibility. The Kytherans were at the top of that list. Marcus studied their profile. 7 feet tall, 4 arms, armored skin, natural light-bending camouflage, known for hunting intelligent prey for sport. The description matched his observations perfectly. If a Kytheran was hunting him, he was in serious danger. But Marcus had not survived 2 decades of military service by panicking. He had faced worse odds before. The key was to change the rules of the game. Instead of running or hiding, Marcus decided to hunt his hunter. He began that day by altering his routine. Instead of driving to a new survey location, he returned to yesterday's site. But he did not work. He spent the day setting up a network of detection equipment disguised as surveying tools. Motion sensors went into the ground near animal trails. Audio recorders hung from tree branches like measuring devices. Electromagnetic field detectors posed as mineral scanners. By evening, Marcus had created an invisible net of technology around a 2-kilometer area. That night, he did something that would have seemed insane to most people. He made himself bait. Marcus built a campfire in a clearing and sat beside it reading a book. To any observer, he appeared relaxed and unaware, but every sense was alert. His hand rested near a modified mining tool that could deliver an electromagnetic pulse. The Kytheran took the bait. Around midnight, Marcus's hidden sensors began detecting movement. Something large was circling his position, staying just outside the firelight. The electromagnetic readings spiked whenever it came close. Marcus continued reading, but his finger moved to the activation switch of his weapon. Kytherans were vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses. Their nervous systems could not handle the interference. A branch snapped in the darkness. Marcus looked up from his book with casual interest. "Beautiful night," he said to the empty forest. "Perfect for hunting." The movement in the trees stopped. Marcus smiled and returned to his book. "I've been reading about your species. Fascinating biology. That camouflage ability must make you feel very confident." Silence from the darkness. "I learned about Kytherans during the Proxima campaign." Marcus continued. Fought alongside a unit that encountered a hunting party. Nasty business. But we learned a few things about your weaknesses. A low hiss came from somewhere to his right. Marcus did not look toward the sound. The problem with perfect camouflage, he said, is that it makes you overconfident. You think you're invisible, so you don't bother with real stealth. You step on branches. You disturb the grass. You leave traces everywhere for someone who knows how to look. The fire crackled. An owl called in the distance. The forest held its breath. I know you're watching me, Marcus said. I know you've been studying me for over a week. You probably think I'm just another soft colonist you can terrorize and kill. He closed his book and looked directly into the darkness where his sensors showed the strongest readings. You're wrong. The attack came from behind him. Zephyra had circled around while Marcus was talking. Her 4 arms reached for him like spears. But Marcus was no longer by the fire. He had rolled away the instant before she struck. The electromagnetic pulse weapon discharged with a sharp crack. Blue energy coursed through the air where Zephyra's invisible form crouched. She screamed and became visible as her camouflage failed. Marcus saw her clearly for the first time. 7 feet of armored nightmare with claws longer than his fingers. Her 4 arms ended in hands designed for killing. Her eyes glowed with alien rage. But she was hurt. The electromagnetic pulse had disrupted her nervous system. Her movements were clumsy and slow. Hello, beautiful, Marcus said. He held a second pulse weapon trained on her center mass. We need to talk. Zephyra snarled and tried to activate her camouflage again. Nothing happened. The pulse had damaged her light-bending organs. That won't work for several hours, Marcus told her. Electromagnetic interference plays havoc with your biology. Don't worry. The effects aren't permanent. Unless I hit you again. She crouched like a wounded animal, ready to spring. Her claws scraped against the ground. I wouldn't, Marcus advised. This weapon has 3 more charges. At close range, it might stop your heart permanently. You cannot defeat me, human. Zephyra hissed. Her voice was like broken glass. I am apex predator. I have killed 43 of your species on this world. Marcus felt ice in his veins. 43? 43. She repeated with pride. All died screaming. All died afraid. You will join them. No, Marcus said quietly. I don't think I will. The temperature around them seemed to drop. Marcus's expression changed from cautious readiness to cold fury. Zephyra had just confessed to mass murder of innocent colonists. 43 people, Marcus said. Men, women, children? All ages. All equally weak. Marcus raised his weapon. For a moment, Zephyra thought he would kill her immediately. But he lowered it again. You're going to show me where you keep their belongings, he said. Every recording, every trophy, everything you took from them. I will show you nothing. Yes, you will. Because I'm not going to kill you quickly like you killed them. I'm going to study you. Learn about you. And then, I'm going to hunt you the way you hunted them. Zephyra laughed, a sound like breaking metal. One human cannot hunt a Kitharan. This are Refin 1. Marcus smiled, and for the first time, she saw something truly dangerous in his eyes. You don't understand, he said. I'm not just any human. I'm Marcus Chen, formerly of the Earth Colonial Marine Corps, 7th Reconnaissance Division. I spent 20 years hunting things that were bigger, stronger, and smarter than humans. He stepped closer, and Zephyra found herself backing away. The difference between you and me, Marcus continued, is that you hunt for sport. I hunt to survive. And right now, you're threatening my survival. The hunter had become the hunted. But this was only the beginning. Zephyra escaped that night, but everything had changed. Her perfect camouflage was damaged. Her confidence was shattered. For the first time in her life, she was the one being hunted. The human Marcus Chen had revealed himself as something far more dangerous than she had expected. His knowledge of her species was detailed and accurate. His weapons were designed specifically to counter Kithaeron advantages. Worst of all, he fought with the cold precision of a trained killer. She retreated to her hidden ship in the mountains to recover. The electromagnetic damage to her camouflage system would heal in 2 days. Then she could regain her advantage and finish this hunt properly. But Marcus did not wait for her to recover. The next morning, Zephyr's ship sensors detected movement around her landing site. Somehow, the human had tracked her to this remote location. She watched through her ship's cameras as he examined the area with scientific interest. Marcus walked the perimeter of her ship's position with handheld scanners. He took soil samples near her landing thrusters. He studied the disturbed vegetation where her ship's weight had compressed the ground. Everything he did suggested detailed knowledge of Kithaeron technology. "I know you're watching," Marcus said, looking directly at her ship. The stealth field should have made it invisible, but his eyes tracked its outline perfectly. "We're going to finish this. But not here." He placed a small device on the ground near her landing site and walked away. Zephira examined the device through her sensors. It appeared to be a simple communication unit, but she detected traces of exotic matter. After Marcus disappeared beyond the ridge, she briefly lowered her ship's stealth field to retrieve the device. The message was simple: coordinates and a time. Tomorrow at noon. A location back near his cabin. At the bottom of the message were 3 words that chilled her. Come alone. Unarmed. It was clearly a trap. Marcus was trying to lure her into an ambush. But Zephira was a Kithaeron warrior. She had 4 arms, armored skin, and natural weapons. Even damaged, she was still superior to any human in direct combat. Besides, she was curious. What did this old soldier think he could accomplish? The next day, Zephira approached the meeting coordinates carefully. Her camouflage was functioning again, though not at full strength. She could be seen if someone looked closely, but casual observation would pass over her. The location was a small clearing 200 meters from Marcus's cabin. She circled the area for an hour, looking for signs of preparation or ambush. Everything appeared normal. Marcus arrived exactly at noon, carrying only a simple backpack. He sat on a fallen log in the center of the clearing and waited. "I'm here," Zephira called from the tree line. "Show yourself." "I am showing myself," Marcus replied. "I'm sitting in the open, unarmed, as promised. The question is whether you have the courage to face me honestly." Zephira laughed. "You challenge my courage, human? I challenge your intelligence. You came here planning to kill me. But you haven't asked yourself the obvious question." "What question?" "Why I wanted to meet here." Marcus stood up slowly, his hands visible and empty. "You've been watching my cabin for 2 weeks. You've studied my routine. You think you know this area well." Zephira moved closer, still maintaining her partial invisibility. Something felt wrong, but she could not identify the threat. "What you don't know," Marcus continued, "is that I've spent the last 3 days turning this entire area into a trap. Not just this clearing. Everything within half a kilometer of my cabin." He pointed to a tree 20 meters away. "Motion sensor. Triggered when you circled this position." He pointed to another tree. "Electromagnetic field generator. It's been charging since you arrived." Zephira suddenly realized she could smell ozone in the air. The same smell her damaged camouflage produced when it malfunctioned. "You see, the thing about hunting an invisible enemy," Marcus said, "is that you have to make them come to you. You have to create a situation where their advantages become disadvantages." The first trap activated with a sound like thunder. An electromagnetic pulse erupted from hidden emitters positioned throughout the clearing. Zephira's camouflage failed completely. Her nervous system seized with pain. She tried to run, but cable snares erupted from the ground around her feet. The tangling wires wrapped around her legs with mechanical precision. As she fell, more traps activated. Flash charges exploded in the trees, filling her enhanced vision with blinding light. Sonic emitters produced frequencies that caused agony to Kitharin hearing. Electromagnetic bursts fired in sequence, keeping her nervous system disrupted. Zephyra crashed to the ground, writhing in pain and completely visible. Every piece of technology activating around her was designed specifically to counter her species' biology. This was not a simple trap. This was a carefully engineered kill zone. Marcus walked toward her slowly, now holding a weapon that hummed with electromagnetic energy. His face showed no mercy. 20 years of fighting alien species, he said. You learn to respect your enemy's advantages, but you also learn to turn those advantages against them. Zephyra tried to speak, but the sonic assault made communication impossible. Her forearms were tangled in the restraining cables. Her armored skin provided no protection against electromagnetic weapons. Your people made a mistake when they decided to hunt humans, Marcus continued. You thought we were weak because we don't have natural weapons or armor. But our real strength is adaptation. We learn. We improvise. We never stop fighting. He stood over her fallen form, weapon trained on her head. 43 people, he said. 43 innocent colonists who came here looking for a better life. And you killed them for sport. Zephyra managed to focus her eyes on his face. She expected to see rage or hatred. Instead, she saw something far more frightening. She saw cold, professional calculation. This human was going to kill her, but it would be an execution, not revenge. I could end this now, Marcus said. Put you down like the rabid animal you are. But that would be too easy. He reached into his backpack and pulled out binding restraints made from her own ship's technology. Somehow, he had reverse-engineered Kitharin materials and turned them against her. Instead, you're going to help me find every trophy you took from your victims. You're going to show me your recordings of their deaths. And then we're going to have a long conversation about justice. As the restraints locked around her arms and legs, Zephyra finally understood the terrible truth. She had not just picked the wrong target. She had challenged a human who was every bit as deadly as she was. But Marcus Chen fought with purpose, while she had only hunted for pleasure. That difference was about to cost her everything. The predator had become prey. The hunter was now the hunted. And Marcus Chen was just getting started. Zephyra's ship was larger than Marcus had expected. Hidden in a mountain cave, it contained 3 levels of living space, weapons storage, and most horrifically, a trophy room dedicated to her kills. She hung, suspended in restraints made from her own technology, forced to watch as Marcus catalogued her crimes. Her 4 arms were bound behind her back. The electromagnetic collar around her neck would deliver painful shocks if she tried to activate any of her natural abilities. Impressive collection, Marcus said, examining shelves lined with personal belongings. Wedding rings, children's toys, family photographs. Each item represented a life ended for sport. Zephyra had refused to speak since her capture 12 hours ago. She watched Marcus with hatred in her alien eyes, but said nothing. Marcus picked up a small wooden carving from one shelf. A child had made it. Judging by the crude but loving craftsmanship, it showed a family of 4, holding hands. The Hendersons, Marcus read from a data file. Tom, Sarah, and their twin daughters Emily and Grace, ages 6. You killed them all, in their farmhouse 18 months ago. He set the carving down carefully and turned to face his prisoner. According to your recordings, the children watched you kill their parents first. You made them watch. Then you hunted them through their own home, like animals. Zephyra finally spoke. They were prey. Prey exists to be hunted. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest. In all his years fighting alien species, he had encountered many dangerous enemies. But few had been genuinely evil. Most fought for territory, resources, or survival. Zephyra killed for pleasure. Prey, he repeated. Is that what you think humans are? Weak, soft, born to die. Marcus activated a wall display showing surveillance footage from her hunts. Zephyra had recorded everything. Hours of footage showing terrified families being stalked, tormented, and eventually killed. You know what I see when I watch these recordings? Marcus asked. I see a coward, someone who only attacks the helpless. You never hunted a human soldier, never challenged anyone who could fight back. I am apex predator. No, you're a serial killer who picks on farmers and children. Marcus turned off the display and walked to a workbench where he had been modifying Kithaeron equipment. For the past several hours, he had been reverse engineering her technology with disturbing efficiency. 20 years in the colonial marines teaches you many skills, he said, welding components together. Combat tactics, weapons maintenance, alien technology analysis. But the most important skill is adaptation. He held up a device that hummed with energy. It looked like a branding iron, but the business end crackled with exotic matter. This is made from your ship's navigation computer, Marcus explained. It creates a quantum signature marker that will permanently alter your biological field. Zephyra's eyes widened with understanding. You cannot. That is forbidden technology. Forbidden by who? Your people? The same people who think murder is sport? Marcus activated the device. The energy signature it produced made Zephyra's skin crawl with instinctual fear. This marker will identify you to any human technology as a threat, he continued. More importantly, it will identify you to any human as prey. Congratulations, Zephyra. You're about to learn what it feels like to be hunted. You are bluffing. Humans do not hunt for sport. Marcus smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You're right. We don't hunt for sport. We hunt for justice. And 43 murders deserve justice. He approached her with the device. Zephyra struggled against her restraints. But the Kithaeron technology held firm. I'm going to give you a choice, Marcus said. Option 1. I use this device to mark you as prey. Then I release you to return to your people. But every human you encounter for the rest of your life will know what you are. They'll hunt you, track you, make your life a constant struggle for survival. The device moved closer to her armored skin. Option 2. You surrender yourself to human authorities. Stand trial for your crimes. Accept whatever punishment our courts decide. I choose neither. I am Kithaeron warrior. I do not surrender. Then you choose option 1. Marcus pressed the device against her shoulder. Energy coursed through Zephyra's body as the quantum marker bonded with her biological field. She screamed in pain and rage, but the process took only seconds. When it was finished, Marcus stepped back and examined his work. A small mark glowed on Zephyra's shoulder, visible only under certain light conditions. But the real change was invisible. Her quantum signature had been permanently altered. There, he said. Now, you're marked as prey. Every human scanner, every detection grid, every security system will identify you as a threat to be eliminated. He began releasing her restraints. Zephyra flexed her arms as the bindings fell away, but made no move to attack. You're letting me go? I'm giving you what you gave your victims. A chance to run. The question is whether you'll use that chance better than they could. Zephyra stood slowly, testing her movements. The quantum marker burned in her shoulder like a brand. Why? She asked. Marcus looked at the trophy room filled with evidence of her crimes. Because death would be too easy. You need to learn what your victims felt. Fear. Helplessness. The constant knowledge that something is hunting you. He gestured toward the exit. Your ship is functional. You can leave Haven's Edge, but remember, every human world you visit will scan you automatically. Every human settlement will identify you as a hostile. You'll spend the rest of your life being hunted by people who have very good reasons to want you dead. Zephyra moved toward her ship's controls, but stopped at the trophy room entrance. You think this changes anything? You think one human victory matters? I think it changes everything. You're going to return to your people and tell them about the human who caught the great hunter Zephyra. Your species will learn that humans aren't helpless prey. Marcus picked up the wooden carving made by the Henderson children. More importantly, you're going to live with the knowledge that you were defeated by someone you considered inferior. That will eat at you every day for the rest of your life. Zephyra activated her ship's engines. This is not over, human. Yes, it is. The next time you think about hunting humans, remember this moment. Remember how it felt to be helpless. Remember that we're not as weak as you thought. As her ship lifted off and disappeared into the sky, Marcus stood in the empty cave. Around him lay the evidence of 43 murders. But those deaths would not be forgotten. The families would be remembered. And their killer would never hunt again without fear. 3 months later, stories began spreading through Kitharin space. Stories about a hunter who had been defeated by her prey. Stories about a human who had turned the tables on apex predator. Other Kitharin hunting parties began avoiding human colonies. The risk was no longer acceptable. Humans had proven they could adapt, learn, and fight back against superior enemies. Marcus Chen returned to his quiet life as a surveyor. But sometimes, late at night, he would receive encrypted messages from other human settlements. Reports of suspicious disappearances. Requests for advice on alien threats. And sometimes, just sometimes, he would pack his modified equipment and take a trip to help his fellow humans. Because the galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans might look weak. They might seem helpless. But when cornered, when threatened, when protecting their families, humans became something far more dangerous than any natural predator. They became human. And that was the most terrifying thing in the galaxy.